Good evening. It's 8 something in Brazil, but I wanted to let you know what we've been talking every Tuesday. At 8, sometimes I get a little bit later here, but at 8 is our intent to every Tuesday at 8 p.m. give updates about what's going on in our sanctuary, what's going on in our region, what's going on here, and not just because we wanted to inform you, but also because we want you to think about our lifestyles. We want us to think as well. We want us to think, how can we make things right for master animals and for the environment? What can we change? So this is the motivation that I have when I open these live streamings in English. Other thing that I want to talk here, and I have said this before, we have over 40% of our public coming from overseas. And we want you to feel welcome here. I know that most of our live streamings are in Portuguese. And sometimes, even though that you are following our content, our posts, you don't get every single piece of information that sometimes you need to understand what's going on. So I want you to know this, just because it's a gesture. It's a gesture to make you feel welcome again. So what's going on here in Brazil, not just here at our sanctuary? We are facing another crisis, another disaster. It's important to realize that yes, it is a disaster that we need to look at, that we need to solve, that we need to alleviate suffering, that we need to find solutions. Talking about that disaster. But the whole situation needs to be understood. We cannot only blame the farmer for this. Of course, he is responsible. Of course, he will have to go through whatever he needs to go through to pay for what he did for these master animals. This time we are talking about over 300 of them, over 300 master bulls abandoned without food, without water. I thank you very much. I saw here somebody translating to Portuguese. Teresa, thank you. So this is happening again. We need to focus on solving the situation because we have master animals to rescue. But the question I have is, why are we so compassionate? Why are we so compassionate with those we see suffering, and those that we don't? We just think that they left their bodies in peace and happiness, because they didn't. If we are eating cheese, if we are eating meat, some way, somehow, we are causing harm. Some way, somehow. Why? Because the harm that we provoke when we eat cheese is different from the harm that we provoke when we eat meat. But it's harm, it's pain, it's suffering anyway. And this is what we need to realize this. And if we don't, it gets very complicated. Why? Because then we have this disaster and we are trying over and over and over again to rescue them. And then we have organizations coming together. And of course, there are all kinds of challenges, and not just challenges regarding those master animals, but challenges also that I see very important. For instance, I realize this kind of situation try to teach us how to work together. And it's not every single one of us that can understand this lesson, because sometimes we want things just our way. But there is no my way when we are talking about teamwork. There is no I in teamwork. So it's all, again, it's not just the challenge that we have when we have a disaster, but every single part of it. Financial problems. We need to think about how to transport them from one place to another, especially when they do not have positive health conditions. But again, we can talk just about the disaster, but we need to look at the bigger picture. And what is this bigger picture? It's always about us. It's always about us in the sense that we are living a life of total disregard. Total disregard. When I am talking about this, I'm saying that anyone that does not relate to my life directly, I simply ignore. And as long as we are doing this, we are going to create crisis. We are going to create disasters. Because we don't care. And we cannot only care when disasters happen. Does it make sense? Because then, okay, the disaster is happening. So we go there and we try to solve, and we have all these questions and all these challenges to solve and to face. Yes, we do. But again, it's bigger than this. It's bigger than this. And this is what I would like us to look at. Because, for instance, here at our sanctuary, we have 140 master animals. Most of them, master horses, master bulls, master cows, master buffaloes. They are the vast population we have here, living here at our sanctuary. If we are talking about a disaster, a crisis, we are talking about hundreds of them. And we can go and say, okay, how do we do this? How do we help them? There are hundreds. How we are going to accommodate them? How we are going to pay for them to eat, to have medical care? But if we look at the bigger picture, and if we work on preventing crises and disasters, then we look at ourselves and we say, okay, I am going to start my journey, my vegan journey. I am going to reduce meat, reduce cheese, reduce milk, reduce eggs. And if I can, I'm going to just simply cut them off, because I understand the bigger picture. I understand that I cannot just look at the crisis, look at the disaster. I understand that I need to prevent this from happening. It's the same when we talk about human health. We can try to heal, and yes, we can. And there are millions of alternatives if we wanted to heal. But it's not just simple about I wanted to heal and I sit on this chair and I forget about everything. It's not about this. I need to change my diet. I need to look at my sleep patterns. I am going to make decisions that are in alignment with the health that I want to live. And then I can heal. Or I can look at my health as a human and say, okay, it's easier for me to prevent or to heal. It's easier to prevent. This was the old medicine. This is the medicine that we hear, that we listen when we are talking to Eastern people in general. Prevent. But I don't know what happened to us, what happened to human beings, that we don't talk about prevention anymore. We talk just about how can we get more pleasure right now, as if there was no tomorrow. And of course, when we are trying to get to a thought of preventing bad things from happening, we cannot understand, because we don't live this way anymore. So it's not just something that we are doing to master animals or the planet. It's something that we are doing to ourselves. So we need to really look at us and realize we must grow up. It doesn't matter how old are you, because sometimes we are 50. I am almost 50 years old. I'm just like, I'm a child. So growing up doesn't have to do with getting mature. We need to grow up in the sense of growing up our mentality. We need to grow up in the sense of expanding compassion. We need to grow up including a topic that I said a little bit earlier, including being together, respecting one another, working together. We need to do this. Because otherwise we are always talking about disasters. Okay, let's try to do this. And again, we don't have space. There are financial problems. They are dying there. There are communication problems, but let's try. And then something happens, a miracle, and everyone is tired and exhausted. And most of them, or few of them, are just in another world because we lost them. The ones that are here is still suffering and sick. And then comes the next crisis. And why? Because we're not talking about prevention. And the only way to prevent what is happening or what's about to happen in our planet and for master animals, the only way to do this is to look at our lifestyle. There's no other way. We can go from one crisis to another. We can go from one disaster to another. And we are not going to solve the problem. See? We are going and it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And at some point, we don't have land. At some point, there is no money. At some point, so how can we prevent? Can we look at your lives and say, how can I prevent a disaster from happening? And you say, okay, Patricia, you are in Brazil. There's nothing like this happening. I will tell you something. If you are eating meat, wherever you are in the world, probably the meat and the cheese and the milk that you are taking into your body, the food that they used to feed those master animals came from our land. I do not know if you know, but Brazil is one of the greatest countries to support others selling soy, selling corn. So it's not something about Brazil. It's something about humanity in the sense of preventing and looking at ourselves. And today, this is just putting in a condition that, again, if you're eating meat, if you're eating cheese outside of Brazil, the food that these master animals are taking into their diet, their food comes from our country. Not all of it, but there is a great deal of chance that is coming from here. So we need to look at the bigger picture. We cannot solve this problem just going from one to another, just going from one crisis to another. The same way that we cannot solve health problems just trying to heal. Because sometimes we can. Other times the body is just tired. It cannot heal anymore. So it needs prevention. So we need to meditate, we need to go to nature, we need to take medicine, everyone will have his own path. I would like us to think about it. Because if we don't, I need to tell you that here at our sanctuary, as I said, we have living here over 140 master animals, most of them coming from meat, dairy, and entertainment, meaning master horses, pulling shards, master horses, they are abused and exploited with rides and all these things that people call fun, that people sometimes can say that it's, again, entertainment, that people can say, but I want us to think if we are here thinking that we are having a good time and we invited a friend, I cannot say that my friend is having a good time. I can only have a saying about how I feel. Everyone speaks for oneself. So how can I ride a master horse and say that he's having fun? No, I am having fun because I am exploiting somebody. So how can I say that exploiting somebody else gives me pleasure? What kind of human? So again, over 140, I cannot tell you how much work it means in a daily basis. I'm not saying that we serve them 2 days or just in the mornings or just in the evenings. Some people think that when we're talking about master cows, when we're talking about even master pigs, when we're talking about them, it's just a matter of getting them into the sanctuary and they will live peacefully in a pasture and we do not need to look at them. And they need water. They get old. They also face diseases, and not just physical diseases. Sometimes they are so sad that sadness becomes a disease. So every single day we serve this purpose. And we're talking about over 140. And when we're talking about a disaster that we are going there, okay, we're talking about hundreds of them, but still very few. Now, let me ask you something. How many can you save? Much more than hundreds if you stop exploiting them. What I'm trying to say is we cannot just say that somebody else is responsible for cleaning up our mess. We cannot, because no sanctuary can do this. I dare to say this anywhere in the world. We need to act in the root cause of the problems we face in the world today. So again, just think how many can you save? Of course, we are very happy that anyone can be here and protect them and support this mission. We need help, financial help, of course we do. But I'm talking about solving the problem. Because again, one disaster, another disaster, and all the challenges that this disaster represents, meaning communication, meaning teamwork, meaning financial, meaning the emotional body of each one of the activists in the field to deal with death, to deal with suffering, to deal with everything that goes on that we cannot get and touch and understand if we are only watching a reels, a video, or reading a post. It's much more. So, okay, we are doing what we can. Now I'm going to ask, what can you do? If you can support sanctuaries around the world, thank you very much. But if you can be vegan, thank you so much. Because when you're vegan, you are preventing disasters. You are preventing crisis. And this is the world we need to look at. This is the world that we need to create. This is the planet that we need to live in. And anything different from this, it's going again, one disaster to another. And frustration, and death, and disease, and everything that goes on in these situations. But how can we change this if we are not talking about our change? So please think about it, because it's urgent. What is happening here in Brazil doesn't have only to do with Brazil. When we talk about weather, for instance, that I see here, that Marcela placed a comment. When we talked about weather, we need to talk about Amazon. We need to talk about our forests. Even though that we have the second largest forest in the world, it's the only one that produces, that is alive every single day of the year. When we talk about the Russian forest, because of the winter, we cannot say the same. And what we are doing with our forests, we are eating our forests, meaning meat, meaning milk, meaning cheese. And I say it again, we are sending it from our country to other countries, so other countries can feed their master cows and their master bulls to get eaten. So I say this over and over again. I'm not talking about a Brazilian problem that we are asking for your help outside of Brazil. I'm talking about a human issue that we need to look at. And I hope we can, because we do not have many time left. And right now, we have master bulls suffering, for instance, in what is happening in a city called Cunha, here in Brazil. And it's just a situation of profound agony happening right now. And then we say, oh my dear Lord, I cannot stand this. I ask you, please stand. And not just stand in the sense of knowing what's going on, but let it in. Let it be part of you, part of your life. This is the only way. This is the only way. We are here. We are trying to help. We are trying to be part of something outside our sanctuary. In other words, I am not committed as a guardian of the sanctuary, I'm not just committed to the ones that are here. I can talk about our team. We are not committed just to the ones that are here. We are committed to our planet. We are committed to people all over the world. We are committed to master animals. And above all, we are committed to justice. And what is going on in the world today is not fair. What's going on in the world today, if you have any sense of righteousness, it just doesn't right. It is just doesn't right. And we need to look at this because we have values for this. So let it in. Let the situation in. Let the situation of their suffering, of their pain, of everything that relates to this. We cannot, and I'll say this again, we cannot go from one crisis to another. And the other thing that we cannot is suppose that going from one crisis to the other, we can go from one to another without people helping us, politicians helping us. I'm not talking about being a politician. I'm saying that we need help from all over. And we need to change the way that we stand up in our society. We cannot just say, okay, I love nature and I do not want us to talk about politics. We need to get involved. We need to know what's going on. We need to vote correctly, and not just in Brazil, because we have examples all over the world about people with personal interests leading countries. And of course, if I'm only looking at my own belly, I'm going to lead in a way. And if I am looking at other people and other beings and other forms of life, I'm going to lead another way. So we are not going to change this simply saying, all right, so now I am going to go from one disaster to the other, and I do not want to talk politics because I don't like it. It's just way too boring. No, we need to get involved. We need to get involved in education. We need to get involved in universities. We need to get involved everywhere we can. We need to get involved. And if we don't, it's as if we are being silent when we know that something very bad is going on. And how we justify this to ourselves? How do we do this? How do I say to myself, to my higher self, to my spirit, that I'm seeing injustice, but I'm too lazy to do something today? I'm not going to do this because this is way too boring to talk about politics and to know what this president is going to do next year. I don't like this talk. I prefer to go to nature. I too prefer to go to nature, but this is not the way we are going to solve problems. We need, again, to grow up. So I'm inviting you to go through this journey together, this journey of growing up, of feeling compassion, of raising awareness, of avoiding problems by preventing them. This is what I believe that will save us all. Otherwise, we are seeing the kind of world we live in. And this kind of world is screaming out for mercy. And we cannot hear because we don't feel the pain. So we see, if I don't feel the pain and I'm not connected to somebody feeling pain, I just don't care. But if I'm feeling pain, then I start to yell. And imagine yourself yelling and nobody caring. Nobody giving you attention. Imagine this as a second part of a suffering that you're carrying inside. This is what we are doing. It's not sometimes something that we can hear with our ears, but we can hear with our hearts. I see somebody said here, Julia, about a question. I didn't see your question. If you can repeat, I appreciate. So if we don't look at this, if you really don't understand how the whole thing works, meaning the context, it's going to be like this always. How? One disaster after another. One frustration after another. And eventually we say, okay, I can't. I'm just exhausted. I don't have financial resources anymore. I don't have land. I don't have. I lost it. And why? Because we didn't care for preventing. So let's try to look at the bigger picture and avoid disasters. It's just way too frustrating to just go from one victim to another victim. We need to talk to the aggressor. We need to talk to ourselves. We need to change ourselves. Okay, I see some questions here. I see Julia placed a question I didn't see. If Julia wants to talk again, I appreciate. I see Hector saying, what's my view on God? I would say, what's my view on goddess? Why can't we think about these energies not being masculine or feminine? Why can't we think of him or her as everything we see, and not with our eyes, but with this feeling of being connected, the same way that our blood is running, the same way that the river is running? Just connect to this force and realize that there is really no way to separate creation and creator. This is how I feel. This is how I feel about this view on God, on goddess. And I do believe that he, she, they, they can help, but they do not do the work for ourselves. No higher power will do for ourselves. We need to put it forward. We need to really take action. And then things will happen. Coincidences will happen. And then blessings, unexpected blessings will come. But we need to take actions. We need to take a stand. We need to look at ourselves. Otherwise, it's just blind faith. So we sit here and we say, okay, Buddha, just help me and do something for my life. And he's there saying, okay, I'm saying here, okay, sit down for meditation 30 minutes a day. Oh, I cannot, I'm too busy. But how can we achieve what I achieved in meditation if you don't meditate? So again, just take action, just do. People are all over the world talking about their paths and how people, meaning people who achieved a higher knowledge, perhaps, self-realization, they are talking about what to do, but the question is, we don't do. We don't feel compassion. We don't place ourselves totally into service. We don't serve others without trying to get something in return. So again, God, goddess, they are all out there, here, inside, out. The question is, are we with them? Or are we taking our own routes and expecting them to solve our problems? They're not there to solve our problems, but if we ask for help, then perhaps they will help us. But we need to take action. We need to do something. And I believe that when we get this connection, then we connect to master animals, we connect to the environment, we connect to every single being, because we are not seeing just what our eyes can see. We are seeing through what those eyes are showing us. Does it make sense? So anyway, a Julia asked, não entendi quando está minha maldade em perguntar que estou pressão. Well, Julia sent a question here. I lost it. I'm going to try again. Marcela. Okay, I think I'm not sure what Julia asked, but I will make a note just to make sure that she gets an answer after our live streaming. So that's it. I just wanted to tell you that at this point, we don't have a solution for what's going on. We are trying different solutions. We are trying to work together. We are trying to feed them. We are trying to give them medicine. We are trying different things. But sometimes it's not just about placing ourselves here and say, okay, this is the solution. It's just we are working on it. And we need to work on this together. We need to work on what's going on today and what is the cause of what's going on today. And when we go to the cause of the problems we face in the world today, we are going to find always, always the same cause. And it's called human being. So we need to look at ourselves, truly. We just need to look at ourselves and realize, how can I change this? How can I prevent this from happening? How can I be a better person just trying to serve the word that I believe? And I think if we are very sincere, very honest about these questions and answers within our hearts, I do believe that we are going to change the world. I do believe. It's not, again, I repeat, the sanctuary, our sanctuary, and I dare to say other sanctuaries, nobody is going to be responsible for the work, or even God, as Hector brought the subject here, nobody will be responsible for the work that we are supposed to do. We need to grow up again. We need to be mature. At some point when we ask our mother and our father, when we ask our mom, we say, please, can you? And if that mom is connected to education, really, the mom will say, no, no son, no daughter, I cannot do this for you. Now you can do it yourself. So just do it. And in the same way, I believe life looks at us. We need to do something. And I count on you to doing so. Because now we have grown up. Perhaps we do not have maturity, because it doesn't have to go or to do with age. Just please think about this. Just please try. Let's try this together. Let's try to prevent. Let's try to use, in a positive way, and I'm not sure if use is the right word, but use whatever happens to this, whatever suffering happens in the world. Let's try to use it to honor those who suffered. Honoring them means that we understood and we don't do this again. But when we're just trying to save that victim, we are not necessarily honoring their people, their origins. We only do this when we prevent. Then we learn something very important. No one can do the work for us. Each one of us will have to do something. Here, I ask you, yes, please do support our mission. We need this. You can be part of our ashram. You can be part of a billion. You can be part in many different ways and support this mission. But I want you to know that the greatest contribution that you can give to the world, meaning the environment, meaning what's happening with our weather, meaning what's going on with master animals, even your own health, your greatest contribution is considering veganism. I would like you to think about it. And next Tuesday at 8 or at 7, actually, we are going to see. Probably we'll have somebody here talking, and we are going to just discuss and share a little bit more about what's going on in the world, what's going on in our sanctuary, and how it all relates to who we are. We cannot take ourselves out of the world that we live in. It's not an error that we are here. If we are here and if we are seeing injustice, it's not just for us to look at and to complain. Just do something about it. No sanctuary can. No God, no goddess can. If we do not take action, they will help us, I'm sure. Higher power will help us. But we need to do the work. And we are counting on you to perform this duty, to serve, to live this world better. As for Cunha, we are going to give updates as we go. We had meetings today, and these meetings are still happening. And when we have a little bit more of detail, we are going to place this in our posts and in our Telegram channel. So please continue with us and continue to be with you in this deeper space that you can access when you are honest and sincere about your contribution, not to a sanctuary or to a cause, but to the world, as the service you provide being your higher self. So truly, just stay with you. Don't let the world take you from you, because I know that deep inside in your heart, you are loving, you're kind, you're compassionate. Don't let it go away. Don't let yourself be fooled by the word. Just be with yourself in this place. And then being yourself will be your greatest contribution to the world. Thank you so very much. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. See you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Thank you very much for being here and being again with you.